Well, welcome to this edition of Aging with Attitude. I'm the guest host tonight. My name is Keith Dennis, and I'm excited because the person I'm interviewing is normally the host of this show. His name is Phil Koch, and he is the president when he's not on the show. He's president of Comfort Care. And again, Phil, if you'll just tell us a little bit about your background when you're not the host, because I think a lot of people recognize you as the host.
Well, thank you, Keith. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm president of a company called Comfort Care Home Care, which I don't talk about, obviously, as host on the show, but is a in-home care agency licensed in the state of North Carolina, and we provide in-home care for seniors in private residences and retirement centers.
Now, you've come because you've got a new venture that you're wanting to share with us, something that I think our audiences are going to really be interested in, because it takes the organization, and well, I'll let you talk about it.
Sure.
Talk about a little bit about your new venture.
Sure. Well, I've been watching the industry of senior care, which my wife and I have been in for over 10 years. And our company has grown and has done very well, and we know a lot of people in the industry, but we've also watched the evolution of the industry and what seniors want. And in the industry, there's retirement communities, and there's home care, and there's many options out there, but usually it's one of two. It's usually retirement centers as an option for long-term care or short-term care, or it's providing in-home care, which I already do, in people's private residences and retirement centers. Well, there's another option that kind of started to evolve on the West Coast, and it started to move eastward. Not all states have it, but what we're going to talk about tonight is, yes, something that I've decided to jump into because it definitely involves with senior care, and that's the industry of what they call family care homes. Now, family care homes is, like I said, started on the West Coast and really did very well, especially in the states like California, and moved eastward, and I'll describe a little bit more what family care homes are. Family care homes, if you imagine a retirement community, okay, in a private residence, in actually a neighborhood or outside of a neighborhood. So imagine, for example, for lack of an assisted living, well, if your mother or your spouse needs to go into an assisted living or independent living, but for different reasons decides not to go that route, this is another option. So if they don't want to go into a retirement community and they don't want to stay at home with in-home care, then family care homes is another option. It's a house where they can get 24/7 care provided by supervised employees that are in the industry that can feed, cook, wash, do linens, make beds, and provide that 24/7 care, standby ambulation to make sure that that resident that moves in is provided care for at all times, night and day, 365 days out of the year, 24/7. I think we should talk in conjunction with this, some of the other options out there. We're very fortunate, Keith, that Charlotte has an incredible medical community. And with that, both the hospitals and the doctor's offices and the practices that we have, we're very, very, very fortunate. I think one of the reasons why we've seen in the news lately that Charlotte has become one of the fastest growing cities, and let me mention, one of the fastest growing large retirement communities is that combination of it being people following their children and grandchildren, okay? But also great, spectacular medical facilities and retirement communities, both all the way from active adult living communities, independent livings, assisted livings, and skilled nursing rehab centers, and now another option, which are family care homes.
Well, Phil, what I'm really excited about is the fact that ultimately these options, to me, make it very, very pleasant. Just kind of picture for us when we would walk into a family care home that you're getting involved with, what would we see?
Right.
What might be some of the things that we might see?
Well, let me, even before I do that, let me distinguish between some of the retirement communities,
Okay.
and then I'll describe the family care homes. For example, a lot of people say, oh, my mom's moving into, we hear this term in the industry, a nursing home. You know, the nursing home term is not really used as much anymore because, frankly, it connotates a negative feeling. Because, quite honestly, the industry has changed. And what you've seen, you know, in movies in the past, in many instances, especially in the Charlotte area, has really, we've evolved way past that. Hospitals now own skilled nursing rehab centers, which are more of a long-term acute care centers. In fact, CMC, which is an incredible hospital group based here in Charlotte, owns 2 or 3 of their own, okay? And that, on that note, on the highest level, which is acute care, skilled nursing rehab centers, there are options for people to move there, and they can either go into the long-term care side, if it's going to be something for months, if not years, of long-term acute care. But a lot of the hospitals have people move out of hospitals because they need to free up space for incoming patients, and oftentimes hospitals will say, well, you're not ready to go home quite yet, so we want you to move into the skilled nursing rehab center as well. So it gives them an extra couple days, if not a couple weeks, to get to the level so that they can move home and be independent at home, or be independent with some little additional assistance like home care. So that's a skilled nursing rehab center, which is probably the highest acute level. Then you have assisted livings, and this is, again, from my opinion, this is not, but I've been in the industry for quite a bit. Assisted livings are kind of like independent livings that we're going to talk about in a minute, but for those people that need a little bit more extra care, standby ambulation, maybe they need food prep, meals, activities, and again, we're very fortunate in Charlotte, we have some of the biggest groups in the nation that have communities in the Charlotte market. There are still some independents that are out there, but all in all, over the last 10 years that I've been in the senior care business, many of the independent assisted livings that had originally been set up by a husband and wife, or a church group, or maybe a smaller company, have now been purchased and are acquired by larger groups, which is great because it gives consolidation to the industry, consistency throughout the nation. So you know if you're walking into a particular community, you're probably going to see what you might see in another type of community. However, it also is a little bit, in some eyes of our families, a little bit, well, that's kind of corporate America, and maybe that's not an option that I would like. What other options are out there? And before we talk about family care homes, I'll mention the most independent type lifestyle, and that's independent living. And again, we're fortunate, we have great communities in Charlotte that have independent living. The difference between independent living and assisted living is usually the rooms are much bigger, okay? They also have probably shared dining. No nurses can be in the building, otherwise they can't call themselves independent living. That is, nurses hired and employed by the actual community itself. In assisted living, they can. They will have a head RN, usually they call them a wellness director in many cases, and they'll have LPNs that are on staff in case medical issues come up. And they'll have CNAs in the building at assisted livings as well.
Now, what is a CNA for our audience?
Sure, yeah. For a CNA is a certified nursing assistant.
Okay.
So they're licensed by the state to provide personal care up to a degree. Now, if it goes beyond a degree, then CNAs can help. That's where your LPNs and RNs need to take over. If somebody had a PICC line, an IV, or they had a tracheotomy and it needed to be fed through a G-tube, or there's a host of reasons why a nurse by law would have to step in, an LPN or an RN. But oftentimes, many of the stuff can be handled by a CNA. In fact, in my company, which is home care, CNAs are the predominant type of caregiver out there. That we're oftentimes an LPN frankly, isn't needed for people that reside at their house, but a CNA can provide that type of care. But in independent living, an RN is not necessary, in fact, is not allowed in the building. It's basically a group of apartments where seniors can move into 55 or older, has a shared activity room, shared activities together with the seniors, dining options, and it's a great viable option. So today I think we're trying to list out the options that seniors have across the nation and then talk about the newest option, which is family care homes.
And Phil, that's what I'm interested in because
Right.
that's what excites me. That's what excites me. I really am excited about what you're venturing into here and the potential for people that I love. And so I'd like to have you just kind of share what's the difference between
Right.
what you are planning on offering here and what's out there.
Okay, well, family care homes, again, started mostly on the West Coast and really evolved and has come east. But family care homes are similar to independent living and assisted living. They would not so much be on the skilled side as much, although there are levels of family care homes that can go that route. In the state of North Carolina, and every state is different, there's 3 levels of care. They call it ambulatory family care homes, semi-ambulatory, and non-ambulatory. And basically, it comes down to how ambulation is based upon if the person can get out of the house on their own without the assistance of others. They could be in a walker, but if they can get out on their own, a lot of it has to do with fire codes, then they are ambulatory. If they need assistance, okay, or some of the residents need assistance, semi-ambulatory. If they cannot get out at all without assistance, as I understand it, it might be termed differently from the state, that is non-ambulatory. My company that we're establishing, we see the need of ambulatory residents. That is, people that still want the option like independent living or assisted living, and they are ambulatory. So the house that we have purchased that are updating and upfitting based on senior care needs will be an ambulatory licensed family care home in the state of North Carolina in South Charlotte.
And as you've mentioned, this is a real house.
Yes.
Now I'm sure that you've gone through and you've, like you say, you've made it so that it's accessible, that for medical needs that might be needed.
Yes.
And all.
And not all family care homes would go to the extent that we have. And let me mention, there are family care homes in Raleigh and in Greensboro and almost every major metropolitan area in the state. It's still a fledgling, growing option out there. And there are some in Charlotte as well. In fact, one group in particular is really, really good. But we are definitely going towards the high end. And I'm going to describe to you, since you've asked, some of the options, some of the things that we're doing to upfit our house, which you might or might not see in other family care homes, to help bring stability and flexibility to seniors that are going to be residing in that house. For example, we have latches instead of doorknobs. Seniors, we found from experience, and I own a home care agency for 10 years. Doorknobs, oftentimes when you get arthritis, is very difficult to turn if you have some arthritis or gout. Latches are much easier. We are going to have, we took all the tubs out, so they're going to be shower stalls, low level shower stalls to keep the water in, but they don't have to step over a tub to get into the shower because there's going to be times, ambulation is going to be difficult.